Unfortunately, there's been two sets of updates since the slides.
I will let them know.
Yeah, so because I think with faculty we have to do that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm going to give you the Cole notes today, and then we can just sort of ask you some, answer some questions.
Yeah.
So I want you to think about this to begin with.
Mhm.
What's the purpose of a business? What's one of the main purposes of building a business?
Make money.
To make money. And what else?
Help people. Serve
Help people, make money, help people,
Have value to people's
have value.
Have a job.
Okay, but I have this philosophy. So make money, have value, create a job, all of the personal things. But the real purpose of a business long term, what do you think that would be?
Freedom. Making your own hours.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Okay.
Anybody at home can pipe in on this. So we're asking you, what's the purpose of a business? So I have this philosophy, and whether you disagree with me or not, it's all of what you just said. But the purpose of building a business is to eventually sell it.
Mhm.
Right? You build a business, you build it up, and then when you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you want to sell it. In order for you to be able to sell a business, let's say I just went down to the local restaurant. What would we have to do if, let's say, Erin wants to buy the local restaurant in the corner? And she said to me, Sonny, I want to buy this restaurant. I really want to get into it with my husband. We decided to make a transition from real estate, blah, 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 and so forth. What would I need? What would I need to do for that? And again, at home, type in on this. What would we need to what would I need to get from Erin?
You'd have
For
to
Erin.
run your profit and loss.
Yeah,
You'd
we'd have to
know
go
how
we'd have to basically find out what's the profit and loss for the last 3 years, right? What's the expenses? How long's the lease?
Mhm.
But particularly important is that in the profit and loss statements, we would be able to break it down to how much each customer spends and how many customers there are.
Right.
So the reality of it is that we're in a business very, very, very similar. Okay. And those businesses would basically be our clients, A, B, C's.
Mhm.
You can even say D's,
That's where I got my chart from that I've used for the last decade. Thank you.
right?
It's from you. Yes.
Right. So A, B, C's, D's. Okay, we'll clarify that. How much revenue am I making from them? And where is the central repository for all that information? Is in what? What do you call that?
Balance sheet.
Where do we
Your
deposit
database.
all of our,
Your
yes,
database.
in your database. So the reality of it, and I can say this to you right now, every single agent that I've met, whether they're making no money or whether they're making $5 million, has a database issue. All of you have a database issue. It means that you could be getting slightly more information. You could be, you may be touching some of them, but not all of them. But everybody has a database issue in real estate. So even if you're doing it well, you could do it a little bit more. So today, what I want to cover with you is that in order to be able to get the most out of the database, you have to understand database, you have to understand the conversion numbers, you have to understand the touches, and also you have to understand when do I up the amount of touches to people. That's really, really important. At home, any questions so far on what I have to say? Just pipe in. This is like, we're going with it. Andre, can you just go through a couple of slides just to make sure
You
that
also can control slides.
I'm kind of feeling lost
Yeah.
here.
I'm probably not
Okay.
the right.
Yes.
Sean, you know how to do it?
Do we have the
If you turn
PowerPoint
it
presentation?
on, oh, sorry, hold on, where's that mouse?
Yeah.
I think you can, there you go. I think you can do it. Here, no. Where to go?
Oh, just because you don't know.
We can't get control of it, right, Andre?
I think you can, no?
Oh, this is on my end, so you won't be able to get control of this. So you have to
Just basically say next slide.
present your own. Yeah, you have to say next.
Okay, so say next slide. Then go to the next slide then.
Sure.
Okay. No, the first one been there before. So everybody can see. I think there was one just right after that, before that. No?
Thanks.
Okay, now go next slide. Okay, that's it. Okay, so basically the heart of your business is your database, and the heart of your business is your regular contact with your database. So first of all, For you guys, you can't see that at home. We have to have a certain number. And then basically the frequency, we're going to talk about the frequency today. And then we have to have the frequency of what we call as touches. Okay? So those are how we contact different people. Okay? There are 3 forms of touches of how to touch people. Okay, what's the very first way in which we communicate or we have contact with people? Okay, so I'm going to put that as number 3. So basically an e-touch.
Oh.
Okay,
Personal. Okay.
what's that?
Face to face.
Okay, so in other words, I'm going to say voice. So whether that be an in-person conversation, face-to-face, or through a FaceTime or through a Zoom, or we're having a conversation where we're seeing each other and there's voice involved, there's an exchange, a live exchange. What's the second one?
Would phone be
Well,
voice?
phone would be voice.
Voice, okay.
Yeah,
So
what's the second way?
Not email.
At home, what's the second way we touch people? If we e-touch them, we voice touch them, what's the other way we touch them?
texting is e-touch.
Email.
E-touch. What's that? No, email, that's e-touch. What's the second one? It used to happen a lot more traditionally.
Oh, in person?
No, not in person.
Door knocking.
Huh?
Door knocking.
Advertising?
No,
like
that's face-to-face.
Advertising? Like-
Well, how do we touch people? So what's another thing when we touch them?
Oh,
We do that through print or mail. Print or mail. Okay,
Email or mail.
so print or mail. Which do you think is the most effective way to touch people?
Voice.
Voice.
Yeah.
100%. Now, there's different layers of where they could hear your voice, but obviously having a one-on-one conversation with people is going to be slightly more conversion than if you have a Zoom or Google Meets meeting with them, which is going to be slightly more conversion than if you have a over the phone conversation with them, especially so the more that they can see you. So essentially, voice has a conversion rate of somewhere between 3 and 5%. I'll talk about that in a second. What's number 2 with regards to conversion? Mail or e-touches?
E-touches.
I would say mail, hard mail, I use it.
It's actually mail. And
Yeah,
why is
90%.
that?
Because it's visual.
Because what happens is that people have to pick something up. And so their sense perceptions are feeling the envelope, opening it up. So it's providing stimulation to the cortex. I'll talk about that in a
Oh
second,
my God, okay.
right? So because of that, it's hitting more of the cortex receptors. That's what I did the grid over here for you. So the thing is that when we don't do mail, we're missing out on the sensory the sensory embedment into the cortex, okay? So the 2 biggest, and I'm sorry you can't see this at home, but the 2 biggest regions of our brain cortex, there's 4 lobes, there's 2 hemispheres. This get activated by voice and in person and live. So the reason that you're having a greater conversation is because your cortex is basically, it's hitting the 2 largest regions at both ends of the lobes when you're doing voice. It will always be the number 1 way to convert people. Okay? When you're doing basically print mail, you're hitting the 2nd largest region, the 3rd largest region, plus the middle region of the upper. Okay? Plus a very small region on this side. It actually hits 3 areas.
Can you put M for mail? Because I'm going to take a picture of this one.
Yes. Okay. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to do this one. You are so right. I just learned something today.
Oh, thank you.
Because I should actually put voice.
Okay.
Okay. So just because it hits 3 doesn't make it more effective, but it's because they're smaller. There's a big one and there's a smaller area. Okay, of that.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, sorry, voice hits. This upper, yeah, 2, both upper, 1 lower. This one hits these 2. There's 8. So that's number 1. And then in e-touches, it's this part and this touch. So this has about a 2% conversion rate and this has a less than 1% conversion rate. So what I mean by that, if I say a 1% conversion rate with e-touches, what does that really mean in practical terms?
Not very
You
effective.
have to call 100 people to get
Yes.
one.
Means that if you have 100 people in your database and all you're doing is sending them emails, you're only going to get one sale per 100 in a 12-month period. So if you've got 500 people in your database and all you're doing is emailing them without calling them, without mailing them, there's probably only 5 sales in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It is. Now, if you have basically 100 people in your database and all you're doing is calling them, again, I'm giving you a range here from 3 to 5%. How many sales is potentially in there? Up to 5. Okay, so now just by calling them with the same amount of number, you've increased your conversion rate 5 times. So in other words, if you were doing only 1, I would say just call people. And if you were mailing people, then there could be, about 2 sales, more so than electronic. Okay, and we'll talk about frequency in a second. Now, here's the kicker. If you do all 3 together, what do you think it ends up being?
I'm gonna go with 10%.
The baseline starts at 5% over, and if you do it for 2 years, it's going to move to 7%. And if you're doing it for 5 years, it can move as high as 10%. What that really means is that if I'm going to call Erin and I'm going to mail her and I'm going to send her some she's not going to buy with me tomorrow.
Yes.
But if I'm
Right.
doing that consistently, all 3 touches, giving her a call every so often, mailing her something every so often, sending her something electronic every so often, then by 2 years, then my rate has jumped up to 7%. So now with the same 100 people, how many sales am I making?
7.
7. And if I do that up to 5 years where I've build relationship with these people, maybe I can get up to 10%. I know people getting up to about 10% out of a database. Okay? So what's your average commission here?
15.
$15,000. So at $15,000, if you're doing 5%, I think that's 75,000. Is that right? Did I do that right?
15 times 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, 75,000, right? So again, not bad, but not great. But if we can get that up to 10%, then we're now making out of the same database, we're making 150,000. Okay? So at home, I'm going to ask you guys at home, if you're listening, what's the base number? If you remember anything in the red book or anything from before, what's the base number of people you need to have in your database after your first year, going into your second year?
200 plus.
200 plus. Very good. Who's that? Razik?
Yeah.
Razik. Okay, great. And we teach something called the 201 Club. 201 Club, right? And it shows you exactly the amount of income you can make once you get to 200 agents. So now, if we've got 200 agents converting at 5% because of our touches, then that's going to give us 10 sales at $15,000, $150,000. Okay, you guys are starting to get into some money where you're starting to pay for some bills and cover some expenses. It's not necessarily huge wealth building money, but you're definitely getting out of survival mode when it comes to just your financial earnings, if you know what I'm saying, right? What do we want to get you to by the 3rd year? If you can't get to 200 if you can get 200 by the end of the 1st year, 2nd year, what's the next number by the 3rd year?
500.
Minimum, we would say, is 300.
Okay.
And the new recession-proof number
Yeah.
is 500 people. Why is it moved from 300 as a base number in your database to 500 over the last 5 to 7 years.
So many agents.
Is taking-
Partly, yes, partly that has to do with it. Is that,
It's taking longer.
what's that?
It's taking longer to transact. It's not a necessarily, you have a listing, it's not necessarily selling.
I'm gonna give you my answer to this whole thing. And this is just, has the speed of life gone up in our world in the last 10 years?
Yes.
Expectations of what we want,
Yes.
right? We don't even want to go to the store anymore. We'll just go to Amazon and we'll just, and it's more practical, right? The other side of it is that we've been looking at this
24/7.
24/7. So it's eroding the synapses in our brain cortexes. Our synapses are getting thinner and thinner and thinner, which means that they need to be stimulated more in order for people to remember. So before 10, 15 years ago, when you first got in, was it 50? It was more than that. 20 years ago, when you first got in, people would wait a day or two. Wouldn't they?
Mhm.
For you to call them back, maybe even till the end of the week.
Yeah.
They won't wait 5 minutes now. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not a matter, so the loyalty factor of people has dropped. Now, I'm not going to say this in a bad way that they didn't care. Because when we ask people, why didn't you use the same person over again? Your response never changed for the last 30 years. Somebody kept in contact with me more frequently. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you don't speak to your clients, even if you've made a sale or even if you've done business with them, if you don't reach out to them a couple times a year and say, hey, how it's going, send them something, whatever, then they're going to end up meeting somebody in their circles with so many agents, right? And if that agent's, very good and, charming, he's
Right
brown,
place, right
brown,
time.
bald, really handsome, mixed between Montel and Gandhi, seriously, there's time to deal with me now, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So the fact is that it's going to be the person who wins the most contacts. And that's what they didn't tell you when you got your Eureka license, is that it has really nothing to do whether you like real estate, whether you're good at design, whether you can help them with staging, whether you grew up loving open houses, it's in your soul. It has more to do with the fact of how frequently can you contact people and the consistency of the frequency. And the unfortunate thing about our business is that to be successful, it's actually quite boring. It's not exciting because it's about make a call every quarter, leave a message if you don't speak to them, send them a couple mailers a year, and make sure they're getting something electronic every month. That's what it comes down to. So when we break down our data, so I'm just going to take a minute here. If you guys are okay, and at home who's listening to me, if you want to unmute, and again, you don't have to go into the details of it, but give me an idea of approximately how many people do you have in your database. Now, when I say in your database, let's use the A's. The A's would be people that have been past clients or clients that are going to buy within the next short while. B's would be people that maybe you haven't transacted with, but are probably going to transact within the year. C's are going to be people that are a year past that. And D's would be just random leads that maybe you picked up online or they contacted you, but you got their information, maybe even in an open house, they left a note, but there was never any conversation. Okay? So if we added that all into your database, I would say take out the D's. If you have D's, that's okay, but take the number out of these. I'd like to hear how many people do you have in your database? So at home and here. So approximately, just give me an approximate number.
So clean would be 300, the A's.
You?
Yeah, me.
Okay, but so give me A, B's, and C's.
So, and D would be 1,400. What was B and C again?
So B would be.
Oh, but like the next, maybe like another 100 in B. So 300 in A, 100 in B.
Yeah.
What was your C?
The C would be basically, so within the next year, now there may be part of your A's because you've been around
Right.
for so long.
Right.
So basically A's would be people who've bought from you or buy in the
Solid.
next 6 months.
Yeah.
B's would be up to a year, and then C's would be a year plus.
Okay. So let's do 300, 50, 50, and then we get up to 1,400.
Okay, all right. So Kiki, can I put you on the spot then?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so what's your income goal? What's your average commission?
So my average commission is 20
20, okay. That's a great commission. Okay. And what's your gross commission goal for the year?
for the year. It was 200.
200.
Yes.
Okay, right. So in other words, all you have to do is make 10 sales
Yes. Yes.
with a 400 person database.
Yes.
Okay. If you're not making 10 sales out of this 400, I'm gonna literally Kiki, I'm gonna
Shake me. Yeah.
shake you.
So I
So,
have to
so
count.
it has to do with the frequency of your touches.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But I'm just gonna be, okay, if it's less, then we can talk about that, whatever. But I'm just
We're trying
saying,
to count them now. Okay.
because even if we're at worst case,
I'm about 8 right now.
okay, so even if we go to worst case and just say, maybe my number at 5%, if you've been doing all three,
Mhm.
let's go on the lower end. There's gotta be 20 deals in there a year.
Yeah, I'm not there. I know that there's stuff missing.
Got it.
Like
So there's missing touches.
I touch. I just wonder if it's quality of touch or maybe voice.
Okay,
missing.
all right, okay, so that's good, okay.
Yeah.
What's your
Oh,
number?
God, Joe, you can't even ask me.
Yeah.
I'm so all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so just getting the number, Aaron?
Yeah.
Is part of it.
Yes.
Because I know you have a bunch of stuff from the rental side and
Yeah.
from this side and from that,
So-
but just ask yourself,
Yeah.
who would be people that you've either transacted with or would be kind of like in your database?
Yeah.
Um,
I do have a lot of like raving fans too that like
Right.
promote me through that, like, you know, who are referrals, like more of like a referral person
Mhm.
versus having like.
Okay. all right, let's go
Please do.
home here. Sina, Razik, home GTA, Bavish. What's your number? Just unmute yourself. How many people do you have in your database? Just go randomly, anybody.
Athena,
Are they listening?
are you there?
No, 85.
Razik, how many people do you have in your database?
85.
Okay, and then what are your income goals? On a yearly basis, just gross commission.
150.
Okay, so that's awesome. We don't have enough people in your database to get to that goal.
True.
If you can get 150 out of 85 people, that's great, but we need to get your number to 200.
Right.
Do you understand that? Are you newer in the business?
Yeah.
How long?
I've started last year.
Okay, so your only mission is to talk to enough people and get that number to 200. If we can get that number to 200, we can maybe start getting that amount of business out of your database. Are you on track to make that income number?
No.
Okay, so this is not a personal thing. This is simply just the facts. You're either gonna have that number or not have that number. Can you hear me or did I do this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we need to, we'll talk about that in a second. Anybody else would like to share with me the number of people in their database and what's their income goal?
I have 300 in database.
Okay, and what's your income goal?
200 for this year.
Okay, and are you on track for that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am
You're pretty close, eh?
50, close. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good number. That's a good number. 300 is a good number. You should be able to pull out at least 200 a year from a 300 person database. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And maybe I can add to some of the things to help you get your numbers up. But my challenge to you now is that, is it realistic by end of 2025? So in other words, we've got couple more months left this year, but can we get that number to 400 by end of next year?
I'm not sure, but I'm working on. Actually, I'm not using any of the technology and in communication or even mail. But
Right.
I'm planning to use it this year.
Okay, so if we can get that number to 400, I guarantee you're gonna start making 300,000 out of there. Okay, cool. All right,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Okay. So someone here, Bhavesh
Yeah.
Malwani, said,
Yeah.
are we including friends / colleagues, etc., or just random leads and past clients in this account?
So we're gonna just say anybody that you've had contact with about real estate that, you probably can work with. It will include past clients, upcoming clients, future clients, but there has to be some form of contact that you've had with them, not just a random online lead when you've not had any contacts with them.
Okay, got it.
So Bhavesh, what would that number be?
That's just
Uh,
a week ago.
It would be around 80. That's the number I have right now. Should be more.
You're 80?
Yeah, it should be more by the end of I just started less than a week ago, so.
Sounds good. So Bhavesh, all we want you to focus on in this first year is get that number up to 200, okay? And we can have a discussion later today on how to do that, but exhaust all of your contacts, family, friends, past business workers, look at your social media groups, kind of people that you kind of know, maybe reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to keep in contact with real estate? We need to get your number up to 200. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure.
Okay? So understand that the amount of people that you have in your database is directly related towards your income and is directly related towards down the road if we can actually build a team and other things. Leo, what's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Long time. Okay. So does everybody understand that the number of people you have in your database times the conversion, okay, times basically your average commission is going to equal your income goal, okay? So when you're calling, we'll talk about frequency in a second, and I'm going to go through that with you. Most people don't have frequency correct, and I want to set a baseline with regards to frequency, because how often should I be contacting these people, and in what manners should I be contacting these people, and what are the most effective ways in which for me to do that? Okay, so we'll get to that. But what you're going to find is that if we know that we have to give them a call, if we know that we have to mail them something every so often, and if we know that we have to send an e-touch to them, what information do we require from them?
Email address, phone number.
And
Email address,
Physical.
phone number, and
Phone physical.
mail address. Okay, so I can tell you right now that if you looked at your database, there's a bunch of that stuff that you don't have. You have their email address, but not their home address. You have their phone number, maybe their email address, not their home address. You have their home address and phone number, but not their email address. So understand that your first call to people is really, hey, Aaron, you know what? Occasionally I want to just mail you something, or I want to send you a market report. I'm not going to bug you much, but I realized I don't even actually have your proper home address, because sometimes I see a report and I want to mail it out to you, and I don't actually have your email address. I just really phoned you and texted you. What's that? That's your call. Your call is not to talk about real estate. Would that be okay if I just send you some stuff every so often? I'm not going to bug you.
I'm working with a really good agent already, but yeah, sure.
Okay. And they are, and just say, okay, well, if you don't want to get the stuff from me, it's better that you do that. Here's the thing, the power of focus. The power of focus is this. I would rather that you have 400 people in your database with their phone number, with their mailing address, with their email address, and you've had a conversation that, yeah, they wouldn't mind hearing from you every so often, rather than 1,000 or 1,500 people with just their email address.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that it actually sucks your energy when you have to look at a number in your database and it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, it doesn't lead to the power of focus. I would rather that you have fewer with more quality than bigger with just all over the place. And I know that in KW, they say it's a numbers game. It is a bit of a numbers game, but I believe it's a quality numbers game too. Mm-hmm. You can get more out of fewer people with more consistent touching than you can just be all over. And the difficulty is that our profile type that attracts us to this industry are socially oriented, great, good at getting things done. We fly by the seat of our pants. We love the hunt of the deal, but administratively and organizationally, we struggle with this. So these are systems that we have to kind of set up initially. That's why we always kind of say, even building a team is even getting a part-time assistant or a part-time virtual admin to just help you with get all this stuff in, because we know that it's more important that you be on appointments. But this is the stuff that's going to be bringing you your business in every single year once you sort of, you get it and set it. You just get it and set it. Okay? Any questions on this so far, guys? Andre, can you just move a couple more towards some of the slides? Next one.
Sure.
No, keep going. I talked about sound of practice, VW, the 4 laws, keep going.
Okay.
Keep going, next one.
Sure.
Next one. I think I talked about all this. Here we go. Basically love this.
All right.
So, hey James, how you doing, man? So you get at home can see this slide, right? So basically, people try to prioritize where their leads and sources of business come from. To me, I believe you can only focus on 3. That's it. Now we know that so just for your statistics, this year within our brokerages, where's the number 1 source where people got their business from? No, the number 1 source. It is number 1 and it will remain number 1 always. Well, what do we call our database? And when we get business, we call that our sphere of influence. So your sphere of influence technically is the people that are within your database. Okay, number 1 source. Okay, so people got most of their business, and that's the whole idea that no matter where your original lead comes from, right, from any of the sources, it ends up in your database on a touch program, and that ends up being your sphere that either they transact themselves or they refer somebody to you. That's number 1. That's always been number 1. That will always be number 1. Guess what the number 2 one was this year? And this is here in Canada. Where do you think the second most amount of leads came from?
Referrals?
That would be sphere of influence
okay,
from
sure,
people referring you from your sphere.
Instagram or something?
No, no.
Open house.
That's like 10 now. That used to be like 3 or 4. Yeah. They'll come back though, because they always switch around based on. Guess what? When you get a lead, an online lead, what do online leads mostly what are they looking for? Yes. No, they're not looking for a realtor. Well, where do you get the most leads from if you have a what? A listing. Right? Most people online are searching for properties. And so whoever has the property is going to get some inquiries from that. That's why if you guys don't boost your posts and all that kind of stuff, and it's your own listing, you're losing business. But that's not number 2. But it's related towards that. It's the last thing where open houses is unanimously across Canada the number 2 source this year for leads. So if people are consistently working the open house, and it also depends on how you're working the open house. If you're circle prospecting, I'm not sure if I or Stephen has taught circle prospecting recently here. You should probably get us to do that. I'm happy to cover a few things today on it. But if you're not properly circle prospecting around your listing, you are leaving more money on the table than you're going to make from the listing. So people have stopped working the neighborhoods once they get a listing. But if you say that, just you doing an open house, it's the last case where people will walk in off the street into your home. It doesn't matter whether you get 2 or 5 or 10 or 20. If you do them on average 2, maybe 3 times a month, not asking you to 4 times a month, that's 48. But let's say you do 2 times a month and you do that consistently. Some weeks you'll pick up 0, but some weeks you'll pick up 1, but it averages out to 1 for the amount of times you do it if you do it on average twice a month. So in other words, if you can do 24 open houses a year, you will get 24 leads.
Leads or deals?
It will lead to deals, James, and the average of those deal conversions will be between 9 and 16 months. That's what it will average. Some will buy within 6 months, some will buy for 2 years, but the average of it will be 9 to 16 months. Now, let me ask you a question. If you get an online lead, random online lead, or you purchase leads, guess how long the average is?
2 years.
9 to 16 months.
Hmm.
If you knock a door and somebody says, hey, we're thinking about buying or selling, from the time of when you first knock them, what will be the average? Now, Leo, you're right. Some door knocks you're going to knock, some weeks, and the person will say, we're actually want to list in the next couple of weeks, and you'll sell it within 3 or 4 months. But then there's going to be ones that they won't do it for 2.5 years, but the average is between 9 and 16 months. So understand when I say average, it's going to average within that range, okay? So when you're door knocking, what's the average? 9 to 16 months. Actually, geographic farming, 9 to 16 months. So interestingly enough, all of the lead sources, it doesn't matter where you came from, where it came from, it's going to average out to 9 to 16 months. And I will tell you, it's probably more the later than the earlier. I would say that you'll probably start to notice a regular flow around 12, 13 months, but it's going to take about a year. Now, if you know that you have to keep in contact with these people for a year to a year and a half, where before on average they start to do, what do you need to make sure? Your database is organized. And so that's why we understand is that, you know why geographic farming for most people doesn't work? Because agents would say, oh, I dropped flyers for 6 to 9 months. I didn't get anything out of it. No, you've got a budget for 2 years. I would rather you don't spend on that money. I would rather you go do other things. Because if you're not prepared to do that for 2 years, in fact, after 2 years, you barely see a return into that. But most people stop. Now people say, oh, I bought online leads. Oh, and I had a conversation, but it didn't lead anywhere. How many times on average do you actually have to talk to a brand new lead before it gets into conversion stage? Huh? 7. 7's the number, James. So if you can, so on average, you have to talk to that person 7 times. And then again, they're going to convert between 9 and 16 months. So I look at it this way. A lead is a lead is a lead is a lead. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Once you build a relationship with them, then they're going to do it. I have a guy in my office. His name is Julio Nododo. Him and Diana, they're a couple. They do actually quite well. They have a base of people. They work a little bit in the Etobicoke market. It's for a Westmount market. So they make a not a bad little living, out of that little market. I would say on average, maybe 200 to 300 a year. However, he wants to make more money. They have young kids. Diana helps them out a fair bit. So Julio decided, okay, I'm going to start purchasing leads through different sources, whether it be, Agent Locator or Sync or other companies. And I said to Julio, Julio, you've got to follow up. You got to follow up with this on a regular basis. So we've now been running that for 3 years. There's different sources. And essentially, he finds it 7 contacts. It takes him 9 to 16 months. And they normally all kind of hit. So his spend now is about $4,000 a month on online leads. But he follows up with every one of them 7 times minimum before he's dead. So most people only make 1 or 2 calls.
How many are we looking at for 4,000 approx?
So let me put it this way. I don't know the gross number of leads. You can certainly talk to him, but for 4,000 a month, that's 48,000. He's averaging from those closings per year about 175 to 225,000 in additional income. However, from the time of when he first gets the lead, he's finding that most are taking 14 months to convert. So that's a lot of contacts. Well, here's the thing. Most agents don't even do 3. They give up. So then they come back and say, well, online leads didn't work. Oh, open houses didn't work. Oh, geographic farming didn't work. Oh, door knocking didn't work. They all work. You just have to do them in that time. And that's the case for the database. Okay. Any questions so far, guys? No? All right. How many times do you have to contact a person on average before they're going to even start converting? 7 times. And how long is it going to take? 9 to 16 months. And probably average around somewhere around 14. Okay. So we're going to talk about frequency now. Okay. And this is based on a lot of current stuff that's come out, not only just from Keller Research, but also from other companies too. And I want to get you very focused on the touches. So if we know that there's the touches that are there, how many times should we be calling people a year in our database? 4. Okay. Now let's talk about that. That's a lot of calling. Okay. So Kiki, in the case of 400 people, if they need to hear from you 4 times a year, that's 1,600 calls. Okay. Now let's just take 12 weeks off.
Okay.
And let's say there's 40 weeks that you're going to do calling.
Right.
Let's break it down. Okay, this is one way to do it. So we've got 1,600 divided by 40. That's 40 calls a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can either do it 2 ways, and I'm going to tell you the way that you're definitely going to fail. And I will disagree with Keller on this. You're not going to consistently make
40 calls a week.
8 calls a day.
I'm with
9 calls a day for 5 days a week.
But I can do 40 in one day.
40 in one day.
I'm with
You have to front load your week, get them done on Monday and Tuesday. Get them all called. Now, I'm going to give you a reprieve on this. Remember when I said about the cortex? This gets activated by voice, even if it's not in person. It may not be as effective, but leave messages.
right. Or
So in other words, in four calls a year, you're never going to speak to them 4 times. You're
Right,
leaving. You're maybe twice a year on talking to James.
Right.
But when I'm calling James, hey James, it's Sunny Daljit. Just wanted to touch base, let you know how it's going. I think we're going to get a half point down on our interest rates in the next couple of weeks. Market may heat up the market a little bit. Anyway, if you want to chat and talk about real estate, if not, I'll give you a call in another couple of months, see how you do. He heard my voice. So what happens is that he sent the charge for the 2 higher lobes and the lower lobe. He now remembers me. Oh yeah, Sonny, the handsome brown bald guy. That's like Montano Dante. Yeah, he rocks. Yeah, that's cool. Right? So then he's good for another couple of months. Right? He's good for another couple of months. So understand that you're going to make 40 dials. You're leaving 20 messages, but you're only having 20 conversations. I would suggest that you get that done on Monday, and if there's any excess, you do it on Tuesday, and you will feel like a superstar for the rest of the week. Now, let me ask you a question. If you are making your 40 calls, and I'm using Kiki as an example, on Mondays and Tuesdays, and you're doing that consistently every single week for 40 weeks, what's happening during those calls when you're talking to some of the people?
Getting homework.
Yes.
What's that?
Getting homework.
Yeah, and what's that homework?
Could be CMAs, could be listing.
Yes.
appointments.
So what your calendar is doing is your calendar is starting to now book out appointments in the next couple of weeks. Okay, Aaron, let me drop by. I know you and your husband aren't thinking about selling that for another couple of months, but we need to make sure the home gets prepped. And let me come by and need you to drop by. So actually, these calls are starting to book out your schedule. And I would always say Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays are when you're booking out your schedule. Save the weekends because you know you're going to have to work the weekends every so often to the open houses. But your Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays are when you're booking your appointments. Sometimes you'll have to go on a Monday or Tuesday. But then now James will be like, hey, James, can I come by on Wednesday? Can I buy Thursday? What's your schedule like? So keep that Monday, Tuesday sacred time. Never try to muddy it up. And you're going to find that sometimes you're booking out during the week, but sometimes you're booking out next week. You're looking at your schedule. So when you start doing this for about 2 or 3 months, you're looking at your calendar saying appointment, 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 appointment. And you actually can look at, okay, well, that home's in the beaches. That's going to be worth $2.5 million. I'm going to get the listing on that. I'm going to charge them so much. It's probably going to take this. So you can now get predictive even about your income. That'll take 90. You can put those probabilities in and start saying, okay, because I know my conversion rate now is about X percent, let's say 50%. Half of them are going to convert. It's going to be 90 days closed. This is the commission rate, this is my average commission. So now you actually start having a calendar that has the value of all your income. What's the only thing that you need to do? Just touch them. That's it. Okay? The purpose of KW and our philosophy is that we actually don't want you at some point to be making cold calls. You may not have, well, I'm gonna qualify that in a second. You may have to do a lot of cold prospecting in order to build up a base of people that's going to support the income that you want. So Kiki, if you say to me, your income goal is I want to pull out $1 million a year, I'm like, Kiki, 400 is not enough. So I have to get you to start doing all of these cold prospects, have conversations so that we can get that number up if you can't organically grow that yourself. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we have to be realistic about the fact, but once you get to a certain base, your lead gen is first with your database. Okay, and that's why I'm big on circle prospecting, because when you have a listing and you go to the 50 people around and you invite them to the open house and give them a feature sheet, some of them will identify themselves that they're thinking about selling. Or they have somebody that's maybe looking in the neighborhood. Whenever you sell something in the neighborhood, even if it's not your listing, I would circle prospect it on the listing. Hey, this is Leo. I just want to let you know I sold the Harvey's home. I know it was a Remax listing, but I brought the buyer. In fact, that's my second sale in the neighborhood. I've got somebody, and don't lie to people. I believe that if you legitimately have a buyer in the neighborhood, you have the right to go and say, I've got James and Aaron, beautiful couple. They want to buy in this neighborhood. Do you know of anybody that's thinking about buying or selling? Now, what did you just notice about what I said about the technique? Now, this is where we get into sales. I have James and Aaron. You personalize it. If you can use their first names, it makes it more real, engaging at the door. They're looking to buy in the neighborhood. Do you know of anybody that's thinking about buying or selling? The indirect ask is always more effective than the direct ask. If I go to and say, are you thinking about selling? Her back's going to be up a little bit more. If I say, do you know of anybody that's thinking about buying or selling in the neighborhood? She's more likely to serve up herself. Plus, she's also thinking about everybody else. So the indirect ask, and I will counter what Mike Ferry has to say, because maybe the Americans have a different mentality where it's like, they beat each other down at the door. But in Canada, the indirect ask is always more effective than the direct ask. Because what happens is that, do you know of anybody that's thinking? People are generally want to help you solve their problems, and we're nice Canadians. So they start, actually, we're thinking about selling. So keep that in mind. So in circle prospecting, once you get to that point, you're going to be able to replenish from your database, because what's going to happen in your database, Kiki, there's going to be some people that will pass. There's going to be some people that will move out of the town. There's going to be some people that one person's going to become a realtor, and they're going to take away 25 people within your group because now they're dealing with them. So the purpose of continuing the lead gen and prospect is to replenish the attrition of your own database. Well, if you're properly circle prospecting and you're properly touching your people, you should be able to get enough referral business and new business off of your existing business that will replenish it. But you got to get your database to a certain minimal number.
What is the percentage that you should be replenishing with? Like their number.
I mean, I think that you have to look
10%,
at you.
like-
I think 10% would be
Fair.
like, I think a fair rate. Like you should be looking, if you're stuck at 400, you should be adding at least 40 people into your base every year. Once you, but the key is get to a number. So for example, like Bhavesh, he's new. We need to get him to 200 as quickly as possible because he's now coming into a commissioned role with no salary. So he can't survive 2 years with no income, realistically. So the problem is with a lot of agents, and I've seen a lot of really talented agents, is that they run out of money. But they would have done exceptionally well. So that's why, when you're brand new, you need to get them to a certain number so that they have enough money to be able to do that. Hey, Di.
Hi.
So, okay, guys, any questions at home on this? But Bhavesh, you understand what I just said? Why I need to get you to 200? Because I don't want you to be a statistic. The reason we have a large statistic in our business is because the new people realize they got to get their database to 200 and they got to do those contacts because some of those people you're going to talk to today, they're not buying until next year or the following year. And if you can get some sales under your belt now, that'll help you pay for between now and then, because a lot of talented agents who would have done well, they run out of money because they don't have enough people in their database. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely gonna get
I
that.
already feel a lot of dumbos come into this business that have a big database that do well, but they're dumbos as realtors. And we have to butt up against them all the time when we're doing deals. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're either a hero or a bum in this business. There's no middle ground here. Right? You can do everything right and not sell that home or not find them a home and they're a bum. And then some idiot agent comes in, does nothing right, just happens to find them the buyer or the seller, and they look like a hero.
Yeah.
We're paid on results. And unfortunately, in doing that, we have to be consistent. Okay? Andre, can we just move to the next couple of slides?
Sure.
Okay. So we talked a lot about the database and we talked a lot about the nets. So the whole idea is that the people are nets and how we build that up. So we need to get more people into your base. We have to have people that we haven't met. Now, there's cold sources of having nets and there's warm sources of having nets. What would be, and I would always say, go to the lowest hanging fruit where you've got the warm sources of having nets. So give me an example of a warm source of having nets.
Open house. Your
Well-
kid's baseball team.
Kids based could be, so they kind of know you.
Yeah.
They know who they are, and it's easier to have a conversation. Okay. Open houses would be more cold because you really don't know them. Okay. What would be another source? Referral, or yeah. So James, you work in your network and say, guys, who else do you know? Specifically if you've got a niche like yourself around investing, who else do you know that would be interested in investing in this or buying this or doing this or whatever? That's an easier way for James to grow that because he can then call them and say, hey, listen, I was just talking to Sunny. He said that you may be interested in this project, right? So do that. What would be another way? I would go through your social media, whether it be on LinkedIn, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on Instagram. Those are basically the three kings. Yes.
I have a question now.
Yeah.
Because when you say that, my blood pressure goes up. There's probably 2,000 people on there. So how do I tackle that? Because I
So
don't
what I
have
would
time.
no. So here's what I would say. Here's what I say. So if your number is 10%.
Yeah.
How many people you have? 2,000?
On social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, all in all, probably.
Okay. So pick 40. I said 10%. Don't go
40.
Go through it and
Okay,
say,
thank you.
who are the 40?
10%.
Who are the 40 of my 2,000 in social that I kind of know we get some bantering interaction back and I should give them a call? And here's your call, Kiki.
Got it.
Hey, Kiki, this is Sunny Daljit. We're Facebook friends, and I know that you're a friend of Aaron and I'm a friend of Aaron. And, we've never had this conversation. And listen, I'm not a kind of a pushy agent, but I just want to say this. I would hate to find out later that you'd want to talk to I'm in real estate, and I'd hate to find out later that maybe I could have talked to you about real estate or helped you with real estate. And if you have somebody, that's totally okay. But do you want me to keep in contact with you about real estate, what's going on in the market, anything like that? Or do you have an agent?
Great.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. And that's the same script that you're going to use with your family. Okay? Some of you don't get any business from your family.
Right.
Okay.
And your family are some of your worst clients.
They are.
However, some of your family and friends
Are the best.
want to deal with you.
That's-
But because you haven't talked to them about it, right? They don't broach the topic. And I said, so I'm sitting with Aaron, and Aaron's my cousin. I said, Aaron, listen, I love you, and I never want anything to come in between in our relationship. But I'm in real estate, and we've never talked about real estate. And I know, you're getting married, and you may want. I said, is that something that you'd like for me to keep in contact with you? And if it's a no, I'm good. I'll never bring it up again. But I'd hate to hear later on that you wanted to ask me about real estate, but you thought that because I never broached the topic with you, that maybe I wasn't interested in dealing with you. Is that something that you want me to talk to you every so often about? And just get a yes or a no. You know what? I was so prideful because in my family, because half of them are a pain in the ass. They're like, I love them, but you got to give them the discount. You got to give them this, and you got to give them that. And then it's like, I know them. But there was a couple of people that I just said, listen, I said, of course. And next thing you know, you do a few deals with them, right? So I think that you have to find, there's 2,000 people you have. There's ones that when you see a post, they post, and you message and there's similarities, but you never had a conversation with them. You pick up the phone, introduce yourself. Now, again, if you saying 40, to add 40, maybe 20 of them come through your social media, and maybe the other 20 come through organically circle prospecting and calling people. I'm not saying 100% needs to come from that, but your number should be, if you're at a database number of 300, 400, 500, well, if you're at 300, you need to get to 400. But I think that the base number is between 300 and 500. Once you get to 300 and 500, you need to start make sure your touches are there, and you need to organically grow that by at least 10% every year.
So at 500 mark, let's say.
Yes.
You're direct mailing these people. How many times?
Yes, we're going to talk about that. Anybody have any questions about what I said so far? Because I'm going to this point. I know I'm sounding repetitive because sometimes I need to say it over and over and over again to you guys. Okay?
If you knew somebody from like a different business that you were in, and they were like a client from that, like what would be your script around reaching out to clients from a different business you used to run?
So my script to them would be very simple. Said, I would see there's scripts, and I think we have to have some scripts and practice it. But I think what's more important to people is just being genuine, with people, and just say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm building my real estate business, and things are going actually quite well. But I want to deal with people that values my service and I feel comfortable with. We always had a great relationship in the tech days, and I would just want to know if it would be okay, or if you'd like to keep in contact with me about real estate. I won't bug you. I'll give you a call a couple times a year. I'm going to send you something in the mail, every so often, not a lot, and then you'll get like a report from me through email. That'd be okay.
Well, yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
That's the conversation. This is not smoke and mirrors. And you certainly don't want to be sending stuff and getting stuff to people. Understand that when I'm talking about Kiki your number, we're also talking about a permission-based database. So you've had a conversation and say, is it okay? Do I have your permission? And you just let them know. I'm not going to bug you. You'll hear from me a couple times a year. I'll send you something every so often in the mail, and you'll get electronic report from me.
That could be a tag in your system.
Yeah.
Permission.
Yeah. Yeah, it's permission. Okay.
Permission.
Any questions on this so far before we move to frequency? Okay. What's the number? I know, and the red book number is not wrong, but it's also been amended.
It's 33, isn't it?
It's been amended, Di.
I
So
thought
it
it's
was the
60.
original number. But
36.
based on the new research, not just from KW Research, but other, it could actually be more than that, but you have to move to that.
Okay.
Okay? So does anybody know what the number is?
60.
Huh?
60?
16?
60.
No, that's way too much.
24.
That's good to know.
No, well, it's gonna get to 36.
I
That's,
was at 36
okay.
always.
What's that? Okay, so this is the number. I'm breaking it down for you. When you start your people.
What's the number you're talking about?
Sorry, somebody on, are you asking a question here? Sorry.
Yeah, I missed that. What's the number you're talking about?
I'm gonna tell you the number right now, Zeke, okay?
He's asking
Okay.
what the number is.
Okay, so voice,
4 times.
4 times. I already talked to you today about 4 times could be, you call them 4 times, but you're only gonna get them twice, and you're still leaving a message. Now, I'll tell you what will count on voice. If, let's say, I want to send Aaron a video message. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Haven't seen you for a while. Hey, we never got in our yearly golf game. We didn't get in our yearly golf game, by the way. We haven't gotten our yearly golf game. I just want to see how you're doing. You know, I saw you came back from a trip from your honeymoon, whatever, and so forth. That's a valid voice touch if you send them a video message. Okay? So, but you do have to have 1, maybe 2 conversations with them a year. But of your 4 voice conversations, you know you're not going to get them 4 times. You're going to probably be leaving a voicemail message with them. So leave the voicemail message. Maybe say, okay, I'll mix it up and I'm going to send one a video, 30-second video message. Boom, right to them. That actually counts. Okay? And then make sure you have at least 2 calls, but 4 times a year. And what KW recommends with regards to how you do that is you work 2 alphabets of each week.
Right.
Okay? So there's 26 letters in the alphabet, divided by 2 is 13, 13 times 4 is 52.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. When you get to X, Y, Z, when you get to like, you're not making any calls, right? So there's going to be some weeks there where you're not.
We can do A and Z.
Yeah, or you could just do it. Sometimes you can get 3 or 4 letters done, and you just take off those weeks as long as those touches are there. Okay, I'm the type of person where I called all day on Monday and parts on Tuesday. I got like literally all of them done. Okay, so that's 4 touches. Any questions on the voice, guys, at home? Razik, you got that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Mail. You're gonna love this.
12.
Twice.
We do 7.
Twice. If you want to do more, you can. However, when you first put people on touches, all you have to do is mail them twice. Okay? However, it's got to be somewhat personalized. Okay? Rather than you send them a generic kits mailer, which they know it's just electronic. It's better you send them a handwritten note, a Christmas card, a birthday card. Birthday cards and Christmas cards, and it doesn't matter whether they're Christian or not. They get a Christmas card, that's still good, right? Birthday cards definitely good.
You have holiday cards.
Or holiday cards or whatever you want to send. But try to mix up the frequency like within the period of time. So if you see that if their birthday and Christmas is around the same time of year, try and maybe send them an Easter card or a Thanksgiving card or something else, Victoria Day card or Happy Canada Day card. But try to see if you can take some time to just personalize it, if you can. Now, there's all kinds of technology out there. I know some of you use that program that is handwritten and it handwrites the card.
Send out cards.
Send out cards. You can handwrite it, and then it handwrites their name with your writing, so they actually get it and it looks personalized.
What's that program called?
Send out cards.
Send out cards.
Yeah, so you write that letter, and then when you put their name in, it'll say Leo, then it'll write Leo on the card for you. So, because that's a lot of, listen, my handwriting, I mean, I come from a family of doctors. You can't even look at my handwriting. It's terrible. I print. So I'm just saying is that it's a lot of work. Or what you can do is you can get them pre-printed, and then you just take that and you just, with the same black pen, so you get it with the black pen or black color, and then you just write in on each card. So I'll just fill in the top and so Aaron, but the rest of the card is generic. Or if I know that I have a great, I'll just take the time to write the card to Aaron.
I'm gonna wait for mine this year.
What's that?
I'm gonna wait for mine this year.
Yeah, there you go. Right? To do that. Okay. So mail twice. Okay. So that's so far how many? 6, right? Okay. Email. 12. Not 24. Not 24. I'll tell you why. You have to email them once for 12 times for a year. Then we're talking about what's going to happen. They will unsubscribe if you do 24 right away. You need to ease them in to getting used to you. They get used to you making the call. They get used to you getting a mail. They're getting used to you getting an email. Okay?
Okay.
So this could be a generic newsletter. Better yet, if it was a market report in their area, stuff like that. KW's got those out of command, right? So it's better that you do that. Okay? One event. You have to invite them to one event a year. And that's actually going to drive some of your calls. So this could be an event that you piggyback with the office. In our offices, we do Pumpkin Fest. We have a Canada Day parade. We have a Christmas Santa thing. So some of the agents say, well, we want to join the Pumpkin Fest, or we want to do this. And so they'll tag on to what we're doing in the office and then invite them, or they just do their own event. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could be having
We have 2 events coming up.
yeah, it could
A
be,
photo day, and we have a.
yeah,
a
it
Christmas
could,
box.
exactly. So here's what happens. Events have been identified as one of the most important touches that you can make to your database. And here's the thing. It's not in the participation. It's in the invitation. Because you'll only ever get 20 to 30% participating. However, the 300 that you just sent the invite for feels like, oh my God, she invited me to something. So you'll get all kinds of messages, I can't make it, or thanks for that. Or maybe you'll hear nothing. But when you do get a hold of them, oh, I'm so sorry. I saw I got the invite. We couldn't make it. So don't be attached to the participation. Be prepared for the participation. I would suggest that you're not going to get any more than 30% coming in. 100 people, you'll get 30. 200 people, you'll get 60. 300 people, maybe be prepared for 90. Now, as you build the event, if you're doing it yourself on a regular basis, you can pretty well almost tell approximately how many people are going to be there. Okay? And it's going to be part of what drives you to call them. Hey, Aaron, I just want to let you know we're having our Pumpkin Fest event at the end of this month. We're going to give out some free pumpkins. We've got some prizes. If they've got kids or whatever and so forth, that could be your message to them. So what are we at? What are we at? Tom?
19.
19. There. So my question to you, you may be doing more touches than this. But if you don't have this as a baseline, you need to go back and add this back now, if they're getting more than 2 emails from an email already in your base, yeah, that's great. If you're sending more mailers and they're not, no problem. But I'm just saying you probably don't. But if you're not doing this and not doing this, this is the next steps that you need to do. Okay? So now we're running this for a 12-month period. Okay? And this would be so when you start doing it. Because the reason I say this is because most people have parts of this done, and maybe some of them have all of this done, but I find that there's some gaps. In the second year, you stay at 4. We always stay at 4. That never changes. Mailers go up to 4. Every quarter they're getting something from it. Now the emails, you have a right to send them something bi-monthly, but it's got to be different and there should be content specific to them. Okay, so the 24 is that you've got your generic mailer or whatever, but you have to probably come up with some pieces that are specific to them. And I will tell you that most of your pieces will be more effective if they're non-real estate related, but they're interest-based related. So for example, when I did this, I'm a tennis player. I grew up a tennis player. I played competitive when I was younger. I would get 5 to 10 sales a year from the tennis community. I bought a subscription to Tennis Magazine and I would send it to them on a regular basis. Find out what your people's interests are. Most of them, they know you're in real estate. They know you're an advisor. But if Leo is interested in hockey or like this is where you start to become, this is where you're going to get more referral business because now you're sending them information that they're interested in. So find out like are they a golfer? They play tennis? They like to read books? Are they involved in community? Maybe they're very religious. They come from a certain community. So this is where the second touch can be real estate related, but it should be interest based. Leo, what are you interested in?
Sports?
What sports?
Hockey, baseball.
Hockey, baseball. So if there was any information around hockey or baseball, any sort of update, any sort of this, whatever, like that would be of specific interest to you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. So I'm just saying, but this is where you're going to have to now segment your touches, and that may offer a little bit because for me it would be like I'm only sending 50 of the subscription. I'm not sending it to my entire base, but I'm sending 20 of these things here, 20 of those things here, and if I got nothing else to do, I'll send them something else. Okay. I do believe though that the market center reports, like if you have the time to do that, anything specific to real estate in their neighborhood,
CMA type 2.
listings, sales, upcoming product, people accept that. There's no doubt. Right. So the idea of what KW has in command about the neighborhood reports, it's a very good idea because they know that people want to see, well, what listings, what sales have happened within the specific area. Right. And that's the other part of it too. You may say that they may say, hey, well, listen, you can set up your clients on a search and just send them whatever comes up in their neighborhood. Well, that could be it. That could be your email. Like if Erin wants to know like everything that's going to happen, everything that's coming up in her neighborhood, you just set her up on a search that she's a buyer. Then she'll see every listing that comes up. Because she's coming through you. Well, that's a valid email. That's why I say people stop the searches when they buy the home. Why don't you actually have everybody on a search in their neighborhoods? Then they're not calling you about what just came up. Well, you want them to call you, but the thing is that with the searches, you can tell if they opened it or not. You know that, right? So it's like they either call you or they click on it, and then you see they opened it. Then that prompts you to make them a call. Hey, Kiki, I just saw that you opened up and looked at that property. Yeah, we thought that was pretty interesting. Makes the conversation. Right. Then you move to 2 events. So James, how's your math?
Pretty good.
Oh, what's that number?
32, 34.
34. It's not 36, it's actually 34 now. Now you can do 36, you can do 60. I know people that do 100, but they've moved to that. But you'll find that if you go to 19, we'll set that for a year if you're newer. You move that to 34 by the second year. This is getting you 5 to 10% return off of your database. You can pretty well guarantee.
Because I just met your database.
That's
Yeah.
next. So in other words, people that you've met and had a conversation with. Okay? If there'd be A, B's, and C's, like A's a bought from you, B's, like you've been around for a while. So most of the people in your database, you've had conversations or multiple conversations with.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of other people that have come to it that you've never really had like an appointment with them. Right? So you've had to segment that. So if you probably have a couple thousand. How much? Yeah, but then so how many would be your core database? Probably a couple thousand, right? Yeah.
Even 1,000.
What's that?
Even 1,000.
1,000. So in other words, what I'm saying to you is that in that 1,000-person database that you have of people who are transacting to you, if you make those calls and do that stuff, there's somewhere between 50 to 100 deals there on a yearly basis.
And then it's bringing the other month over into that.
Correct. All you're doing is you're I call it column jumping. So if you've got A, B, C's, and D's, so this is basically past or now, past. This is 6 months they're buying. This is 1 year plus they're transacting, and this is just general leads. What's the best source of A's? A leads. What's the best source of A leads? If you're following a touch program, it's B leads. The more you talk to B's, they're going to convert to A's. The more you talk to C's, they're going to become a B. Suddenly that person that said, hey, I'm buying 2 years from now, Leo talks to them, I'm buying 2 years from now. He does this quarterly call to them, gets a hold of them, and says, actually, Leo, my daughter's decided to move back in. She wants to stay with us for a while. Our house is too small. I think we're not going to wait 2 years. We're going to do that. So understand your conversations always move the timelines up. So your best source of A's are B's. Your best source of B's are C's. And your best way to fill your C database is all those cold leads or online leads or registrations you got. I would just go through them. Now I'm going to give you a technique here right now. If you have an online lead, or you have somebody that registered, or somebody that even came into your open house that left their information, but you never got back, you never had a conversation or an appointment with them, I would send them this email if you got their email information, or you could send them a text, but I would send it as an email, and don't put it as a bass blast. You can put it as a BCC, but you can put them all in BCC and then send it to them. And in the subject line is quick question. Quick question. Are you thinking about buying or selling in 2025? Let me know, James Benson, Keller Williams Advantage. You will get a 5% response rate. So in other words, if you blast that out, Kiki, to 100 people, 5 of them will respond with a yes. More than 5 of them % will respond generally, but 5% will respond with a yes. Okay, so I think that if you sent that out to your 400 people, I would say you could get up to 20 people that would either respond to you or say, yeah, we're thinking about it. You've now just identified who your B, C, or A's are out of your base. I think it's somebody showed this to me 4 years ago, and I have all our agents doing it, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't work. That's not going to work. And they all do it. They all call me back. I can't believe that actually works. Because nobody wants a blast email. But if it was quick question, are you thinking about buying or selling in 2025? Let me know, Leo. They'll respond actually. They'll say yes or no. If they say no, you got a response. Great. I'll just keep in touch. But people will self-identify on that. Any questions at home on this? Andre, can you just keep going? Yeah. So your Mets, have it Mets. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, stay here. So in your database, there's 5, maybe 10. Now I'm going to just use your example at 400. There's 5 people in your database who have the ability to send you 2, maybe 3 referrals a year. Not all 400, but there's 5 to 10 that we consider to be core advocates. These are people that love you, that you have a good relationship with them, and you can get more business out of them, and they're influencers or they're connectors, right? I had 5 in my database. 2 of them were Italian. I grew up in the Italian area of Ottawa. One was a caterer, one was a school teacher. I literally would get 2 or 3 deals a year from them. Yeah. So, the caterer, I would recommend them all the time to other people. The school teachers, I helped this. I was like, well, what can I do? You and your wife are school teachers. You know, I'd send them gifts. I would send them dinners. And next thing I know, I found out his son was really interested in sports and stuff like that. So I actually set him up with an Olympian who I knew and in that kind of thing. So I'd always just find a way, how can I bring value to their life? And half the time it's not about business. It's about how can you make their life like better. But I would say that there's probably, you guys have 5 people you already know that can actually bring you 2 or 3 business. Leo, do you have a couple people?
Definitely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you don't treat them the same as everybody else. So again, this is the Pareto rule. So if Leo's number is to do 30 or 40 deals a year, there could be 5 people that sends in 10 deals a year, right? So you don't treat those people the same. You know, send them some tickets to the game, take them out for lunch, do what you need to, and I would say find out what's important to them and put that in your notes. Like, what do they like? Like, I know Aaron likes golfing, so I would take Aaron out golfing every year. Then, hey, how's it going? And we would hang out for 4 hours in the cart and we would chat and talk about the old days in Ottawa, even though we want to forget some of those old days. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we would do, right? And stuff like that. So this inner circle of core advocates, people who believe in you, and allied resources. So these would be individuals, again, my lawyer in Ottawa, he was the best. He was actually the witness at my wedding. He was actually the lawyer. So I would send him probably 10, 15 deals, Antonino Locandro. I would send him about 10 or 15 deals a year. And I would always get 2 or 3 deals from him because he was objective, but people would come in and say, hey, we got to sell this home or we got to do this. Is anybody you recommend? And he knew I was very objective. So he would just call me up and said, Sonny, go over. These people know me, I've recommended. But I get like 2 deals a year from him. But I would send him 15. And similarly with my mortgage broker, right? I would send them a bunch of deals. And it's never equal. If you have an allied resource that you believe in, it's never going to be equal. It's not 1 for 1. But you should be getting the occasional deal a year. And I look at it this way: if I send, this to the mortgage broker or the banker, 10 or 15 deals, I'm going to get. So every year I end up getting a power of sale from Royal Bank because I would always send them 10 deals a year, that rep at Royal Bank. So every time a power sale came around, he would give me the power sale. Well, it's 1 extra deal a year. That was great. So just look at it that way. So just understand that we're trying to move people towards the more center. I know individuals that have a very small, relatively small database, but they have an amazing relationship with people and they produce a lot of people out of that. You know who's fun who does it? It's Paul Burke. Paul Burke, she knows because she used to work with Paul up in Ottawa. But Paul's already done 60 deals this year out of a 300-400 person database. He literally calls them. Paul kind of he's kind of funny. He's pretty direct. He's like, hey, because he's hey, you haven't sent me a referral this year. Who you got? Like, he calls his people and says, hey, you haven't sent anything to me for last year. Who do you know wants to buy or sell? Come on. He sits there and waits for them to do it. But he's built that reputation over 40 years to be able to talk because he knows these people, is friends with them. And he basically, so I've already talked, he's already done close to 60 deals this year, right? Aaron used to work with him on his team. So, but he's a guy who has a smaller database, but he's producing 15, sometimes 20% out of his database, right? And if people don't want to support him or they don't want to refer him, he actually has this attitude of, I'm not going to keep them, that's it. I'm going to support you. If you got a restaurant, I'm coming to your restaurant. I'm sending people. If you're this, and he actively does. He has influence to people. So he only wants to deal with people that he's going to help them and they're going to help him. And so forth. That's just because he's graduated to that attitude. Okay. Next slide, Andre. Okay, keep going. I talked about all that. Friends, family, neighbors. You got to feed it every day in the sense of like people will come out, people will come in. I feel that you've got to get your number. This is a base minimum that we have because we're running this program here right now, which is this is Ignite, right?
36.
36, yeah. So this is the original 36-12-3. So while you're doing the 36-12-3, this is what they ask you to be your daily homework every day during the time. So that would mean you do 10 new contacts, 10 people in your database. So this would basically be the 410, write 10 note cards, and then preview 10 homes. That's always during the week. You know, I know it's hard these days to do the 10 homes because agent open houses have sort of kind of gone away a little bit, but I do still believe highly in previewing homes because pricing is just so important, conditioning and pricing, and just to always have those eyes. I find that when you don't see a lot of homes, you start to lose that eye. Like you sell enough now where you can just walk in and like when you've seen enough homes, you literally can walk in any neighborhood in the GTA, whether you're here or whether you're even out in the outskirts, you just kind of know within $50,000 where this thing's going to be if you've seen a lot of homes, right? So you have to have that eye through repetition. And so for you new people, if you can preview homes, great. I know some agents don't want you previewing. Maybe you can set up previews, but I would spend some time going through the open houses on the weekends. Get used to seeing a lot of homes. That's why you're going to be showing a lot. The more you become more comfortable in going through a home, the better it's going to the better it's going to work for you. I'm also big on if you can write a handwritten note, it is very very effective. Write a handwritten note. Okay, so one of the mailers a year of the 2 or the 4 is a handwritten note, and do it. It's quite effective, right? In doing that. Okay, Andre, can you just keep moving those slides? Expanding your database. So these are the different sources: phone calls, schools, church, neighborhood, communities, open houses, geographic farm. We don't, for sale by owners now with the posting services and stuff like that, they're not as big. Expired listings, still a source, but it's dropped down a fair bit. I wouldn't underestimate agent-to-agent referrals. So, if you built a database of people throughout Canada or even within the city, there's agents in my office, like they won't even go beyond, like I have one agent that she's in South Mississauga, like she won't even go north of Burnhamthorpe. Like that's square one. So everything north, if she has a client there, she's sending stuff out to North Mississauga, to Caledon, like to other people. She frequently asks me, she deals in her area, and that's how she deals in her area, right? And kudos to her, she does amazing. But there's a lot of people that they're not driving down to the beach. They're not driving down to the beach. I think I tried to send you something. You right? They contacted you. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So because there's just people that they're not coming here. They're just not coming here, right? Because who wants to deal with that? And then internet leads. I think internet leads are everybody's doing them, and I think that the changes a lot of times. I find that there's some lead sources that are good for a period of time, and then they don't update their algorithms, or they update it. So I found that like Agent Locator was good for a while, then it was terrible for a while, then it actually got good again for a while, and then they're like so now. Like Sync was really great when it first came in, then it hasn't been that good. Now Sync's changed its algorithm, it's better. So the fact of the matter is that it's almost a full-time job just to keep up with what that stuff has been doing. However, I do believe that if you can learn how to boost your own products or your own office products, so in other words, if you got listings in here from this brokerage and you just ask the other agent, hey, can I just boost your post and, or you take your own listings, your own sales, and you boost it, and then you do paid boosts, I think you're missing out on opportunities, especially if you're in Facebook and Instagram, if you don't do that. I really do.
You boost your listing, you're saying.
Boost your listing, because what happens is that where you're asking yourself, like, what do you think Zolo and Zoocasa and all of these companies are doing? They're just taking your listing and they're boosting it there. Now, the one thing that you're going to find that I think is kind of encouraging, maybe people say not, is that Realtor.ca, it's still all of the boards, all the data is all the listings in Canada. We don't have interlopers like the States where they have separate MLS, because Realtor.com has been owned by Rupert Murdoch company for 25 years. So Realtor.com doesn't have every listing in the States. In fact, it only has a portion of it. So they have multiple MLSs in the United States. However, Realtor.ca doesn't deal with that. All the boards, all of them feed up to it. So there's no doubt that a lead coming in through Realtor.ca, if you follow up on that, is still a good lead. But if you can also take some of that product and then boost that product out on your own, which is what Zolo, Zoocasa, Search Realty do, they're just taking existing product and they're just putting it out there in the search engines, and they're getting eyes.
So you'd say boost it on Facebook?
I would say if it's your own listing,
Yes.
I would say that I think that we find that Facebook ads turn more than Instagram, but Instagram is also good. You can do both. And I think that if you do use Google AdWords and you pay some money through those, you can probably get you can probably just generate leads on your own. All the companies, that what they're doing is they're just generating leads on your own. The one last thing I'll talk about this, and this is not in here, is that if you make a video specific to something very specific. So let's say that Aaron wants to talk about 2-bedroom condos in the beach in a certain area. She could literally make a 30, it's got to be no more than 2 or 3 minutes. Hi, this is Aaron Carlson, Keller Williams. I want to talk about 2-bedroom condos in the beaches, and you talk about some features, you talk about some price ranges, you talk about layouts, square footages. You've got to hit those points within a short period of time. You put that out there in the world on YouTube and you send it out. Anybody that's looking for a 2-bedroom condo will search, and that's going to live out there forever. So the more hits you get on that video, it's going to move up within the search engines. And suddenly that video, if it starts to get a lot of hits on it, you're going to start to attract people that are looking for 2-bedroom condos in the beaches. So there's people that have been very specific about creating multiple streams of content on the internet with video and having that live on YouTube. And then what they do is that as the hits and the views start to increase in the search engines, they get a hold of you and said, hey, yeah, I saw we're looking for a 2-bedroom condo. So it's a way for you to pull people in, but you've got to be specific. Oh, if you're looking for a condo in the beach, no, be specific as possible. There's the internet lead companies that specifically deal with that. All they're doing is putting out YouTube content, getting leads, and then they're handing them over to you and charging you a bunch of money for that.
Would you argue that the boost your listing is really to capture leads rather than sell the property at this stage in the game?
100%.
Yeah.
However, it's part of your marketing plan to your seller.
To the seller.
And let it this way. Open houses don't generally sell houses. However, on occasion they do. On occasion they do.
First deal, I think, was
Yes.
open house.
Knocking the area and inviting the neighbors and asking them if they know of anybody that, invite them to open house. Hey, by the way, help me pick your neighbor. Do you know of anybody? However, on occasion, a lot of people know people that want to move into the area. So I've gotten calls and I've sold homes from the guy down the road and said, yes, my son's looking to move back in, or I've got a friend or a family member. So understand this, when you're an agent, especially on the selling side, they're paying you to mitigate the risk of uncertainty. And what I mean by that is that you have to remove all the variables and cover all the variables so that you can maximize it, you get their home sold. Well, the MLS is only going to sell it 70% of the time. It's still the number one thing, but it's going to be you open house it, you knocking, you posting it on social, you circle prospecting, you doing it this way. So you can now go to your seller and say, hey, I'm going to exhaust every avenue in my marketing plan so that we can make sure that we get your home sold. And this is what I'm going to do. Now, as a result of that, you're going to pick up extra leads. Right? But it is part of your plan. Like, I'm not lying. Like, open houses generally don't sell the home. However, I will say this, is that open houses get a lot of traffic through that reduces the clients from having to be out of the house as much. Because a lot of agents will come through on the weekends with their clients where they would have booked 2 or 3 appointments and, and then upsets their life a little bit. So there is a function of that. But on occasion, I've had people come into an open house and buy the house on that. So you're all about doing that. I'm going to give you one thing that I believe is in conversion. And again, if you try this, I believe that it will help you convert appointments 50% more on cold incoming leads. Okay, so let's say you get a realtor.ca lead. Let's say you actually go and buy a lead. Let's say a random person contacts you about your property or about your listing. Usually if they go to a registration page, your registration page should have their name and have their mobile number. If they want to leave their email address, you can make that as optional. But I think that if you get everybody's got a mobile phone these days. When you don't call them back right away, so here's the thing, contact them right away, but send them a 30-second video message. Okay, so this is how it is. So Kiki's gone on. I have a home. She's registered. I just got the lead in. I've now got some time, or let's say I'm going into a meeting or an appointment. I'm basically going to do a video message on my phone and say, hey, Kiki, this is Sunny Daljit. Thanks so much for inquiring on my property at 123 Main Street. Yes, I'm going to give you a call and give you some information. Hi, it's me. My cell phone number is 416-995-3910. And I'm going to call you back and tell you all the information about the property at 123 Main Street in the next 30 minutes. So if you see this number, pick up the phone and we can have a chat. Send them the video message first. They will pick up the phone 50% more than when they just register. Because the biggest issue people have is they're registering online for information, and then you call them, then they don't pick up the phone. But if you send them the video message first, and then you call them, they actually, because then they see you. Oh, there's Aaron, there's Sunny, there's Kiki, there's Leo. So on random cold leads, video message them back. And then if they're inquiring on something specific, if they said, we are interested in your 2-bedroom condo in the beaches, when Aaron's calling them back, say, hi, this is Aaron. Thanks for calling about my 2-bedroom condo in the beaches. I'm going to call you back in the next 30 minutes. My number is 416-995-3910. So if you see that on your phone, please pick it up. And hi, I'm Aaron about that 2-bedroom condo in the beaches. Mirror the language of how they came in. You notice how I repeated 2-bedroom condo in the beaches twice? That's what they put in their inquiry or their registration. Try to be as specific as possible on that. I tell you, everybody that tries video messaging back first rather than call them back gets a higher rate of pickups on the return. Plus, the other thing too is that let's say you're going into a meeting, you're running a little bit, they'll wait for your call. Because if they got something right away, right? They'll wait a half hour, or if you can't call them for 2 hours, just say that, hey, listen, I'm just running into an appointment to show a couple homes, but I will call you back in 2 hours and we can talk about that 2-bedroom condo. Yes, it's my listing, and hi, they see you're real. They'll wait for you at that point. Okay, so we have these devices. It's a curse. It really is, and it's killing us, but it's also a blessing at the same time too if you use it. Any questions from home so far? All right, let's keep going. Andre, next one.
Would you incorporate that into the 40 calls you make? Like that would obviously be a lot.
Well, but these are people that Kiki knows already. So it's not like you could do that too. So you're talking about the follow-up calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she already knows it. She's gonna say, hey Sonny, it's me, Kiki, I'm gonna be calling, pick up. Well, she already built a relationship. But if I'm brand new, or I'm just, there was an inquiry, maybe that would be her first one. This works great on any inquiries coming directly into you. Because the biggest issue with conversion for people that are inquiring directly to you, especially online, is when they call, even if they call them in 5 minutes, people aren't picking up.
Yeah.
I'll send a text and say, hey, this is Aaron Carlson. You just inquired about this property. I'm calling you back in 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But the video's nice.
What I have happening, because we have studio space in Mississauga, I have some of my agents pre-videoing. Hey, thanks so much. This is Kristen Fear. Thanks so much for calling in about my property. I got your message. I'm going to call you back. This is my cell phone number, so just expect a call back from me on that. So it's not specific to the property, but they've done it. So here's what
They have a
happens.
listing.
Here's what happens. No. They see it. Like Aaron's a lovely person. We all actually don't do badly on video. So the fact of the matter is that now they put a face to the whole thing. They're going to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
Like they're coming out. They don't know who this, Sonny is. I could be a girl. I could be a guy. I could be, now they see me. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't know.
Yeah.
This makes it real for them. Right? It does help with it. It's a numbers game, right? All I'm saying to you is you're going to get 12 online inquiries. You're going to try to call all 12. You'll get a hold of one. I'm not going to say you're going to get a hold of all 12. I'm going to say that one is going to go to 4.
Yeah.
It's going to go to 4. And that 4 can be the difference in that 1 extra or 2 extra sales.
Awesome.
It's just simply a numbers game, right?
You're standing out, be different.
What's that?
You're standing out, be different.
Yeah.
Which is.
But it's personal. It's personal. It's as simple as that. You're doing that. Okay. Yeah. So when we feed the database, if you haven't asked them the whole forward, again, this is about interest base. Find out a little bit about the family, about their occupation, about their recreation, about their dreams, things like that. That could become very things that you put in interest tags in your database. So if you know that you get a common interest, so my son's into Formula One. I'm not into Formula One. My son's into Formula One. By the way, I'm taking my son to Formula One next weekend in Austin, right? I went to Montreal. I have no friggin' idea. I have no interest in cars. I don't care about cars. He loves cars. He's a car guy. I mean, I really don't care. But I love my son and I love his interests. So now it's like I'm into Formula One. But I mean, if you found out that was an interest, I would stick those interests in there, right? And I would send them information about whatever, just specific. The more that you can cater or give people, like maybe they're getting the updates and stuff like that and so forth. But if this was a really great client and I knew that they were Formula One, I'd buy them a T-shirt and send it to them. Well, what's your team? Are you McLaren? Are you Mercedes? Are you Red Bull? Are you who you support? It's Ferrari. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton's going to Ferrari next year.
Right? Nothing.
Okay. My daughter's
Family watch.
My daughter is even into Formula One now because she's going to see Lewis Hamilton. He's going from Mercedes. He's going to, he's unfortunately, but his son's starting to drive now. I knew none of this not 6 months ago. I now know all of this. But the reality of it is that it's an interest of people. Right? So they know that it's a different, you're differentiating it. Understanding that when you deal with the interests of people, you will get more referrals. Now, don't do it. Well, yes, do it to get more business, but do it because it's the right thing to do. The more that you can relate to their interests or share interests or give them interest, the more they're going to send you business. Because understand that the universal search right now for everybody, because everybody's just running around like this all the time and the speed of life is going quicker. So what happens is that we're losing connection. We're losing connection with our families. We're losing connection with our communities. We're losing connections with our God. We're losing connections with our country, with our politics, with people. So the more that you take an interest in what they're interested in and can connect, That's at the base of all relationships. When they don't deal with you, it's because they felt more value in another connection that was recreated. Right? That's our only deal, is to connect with people. Nothing else in doing that. Okay, Andre, we can go to the next one. How many slides do we have here and all? Okay, adding contacts, I talked about that. Keep going.
He'll tell you, he knows.
Communicate in a systematic way. Yep, we talked about that. Beginning of the 3 hours, end of the 3 hours. We say basically try to get it done. I'm telling you, get your calls done on Mondays and Tuesdays if you can. Yes, you can do 3 hours, but I'm going to tell you, agents are not consistent. Agents are consistent for 2 days. And then the rest of it, after that, they need 3 days where they're all over the place.
But there's a reason why we're in this
Well,
profession.
here's the thing. If you just do all your calls Tuesday and
That's right.
Thursday, then you can just show homes, go list homes,
That's right.
present, be designer, do all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But what's happened is that because you're booking appointments now into your calendar, that's your only job, is to book appointments, and the calls will help you book the appointments. So I would say that 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours. I would say if you just spent 4 to maybe 6 hours, I don't even know if 6 hours. I think if you just spent 4, 5 hours, got it all done on Monday and Tuesday, all your calls, all your follow-ups, it would prompt you. That's all you would need to do. Just be really efficient and effective about it, right? Just get through them. Okay.
And what would be like would you do a different phone call every 4 months? I know some of them, there's some.
Well, there's always stuff to talk about.
There's
There's generic stuff to talk about.
Mhm.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to give people your opinion. Like, we're supposed to be neutral all the time, but even people that may not necessarily agree with us, they want to hear your opinion, right? And I would say that, understand that when you're too vanilla in guiding people, they don't know what to do. Sometimes you need to say, you know what? I just showed you 7 homes. I'm not selling you this. I'm not selling you this. I'm not selling you this. I'm not selling you here. And here's the reasons why. This school district sucks. These condo fees in this one is gone. This one has some problem. You do your stuff and say, but this one, and I said, you know why I'm telling you this? Because you're probably going to move from here in 5 years from now. And I want to make sure that it goes up in equity. And also it's resellable, because if I can't sell it, and because in 5 years from now, I'm going to have to resell it for you. So if I am recommending it to you now, I'm going to end up with this problem later on. And this is why. They need to hear that from you sometimes. Sometimes you need to talk people out of buying certain stuff. The more you talk people out of buying certain stuff, the more they're going to want to buy from you, and the more they're going to refer you. I remember in 1994, it was like one of the worst years. The market had crashed. I'm dating myself. I talked more people out of buying real estate than into buying real estate. In 1994, I started a little property management company to just rent out the houses to some of my people, because I had some investors, because the prices had gone down, and if I sold it, they would be losing money. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna charge you a small fee, but I'm gonna rent it out for you. And I had an assistant already at that time. And I said, and there was about 30 properties, because I had done 108 sales in 1989. So I had a lot of business at that time. And this was in Ottawa. And so I just had this little property management company. I just broke even off of it between that and administration, but it kept my clients happy. Well, in about, late 90s, 98, 99, the market started to come back. So now some of those people wanted to sell the homes. The prices were up. They made some money. I remember selling those units to those guys. And this is just off of Ogilvy Drive in Ottawa. I remember selling those units to those guys. There was townhouse units, investor group. There were about $85,000 little 3-bedroom townhouses. We sold them in late 80s, early 90s. I just had one guy still owned, his family still owned that. I referred it to an agent last year. He sold that property, that little townhouse, for $550,000. He bought it like in $80,000. He had 4 of them. And I remember calling me, he says, I'm so glad we kept them. We were in financial problems, but you got it rented. We were able to break even. And that's his kids who are now thanking me because the old man is passing. But now there's like $2 million there now the kids are getting from these properties that their dad bought. And I said, I'm not going to sell these houses for you. You're going to lose money. Let's get them managed. And these clients were so loyal. So sometimes you just have to do the right thing, and because it's the right thing to do, right? Okay. Next one.
Sure. Also, we're on slide 22 out of 50 at the moment.
Okay, keep going. Let's keep going.
Sure.
I've covered it all. 12 direct. Keep going. All right. Okay, so let me just tell you what an 8x8 is. When you first meet a person, you should communicate with them over an 8-week period or 8 times, and then put them on the regular touch system. So let's say, for example, somebody walks into an open house. Then what you do is to say, yes, actually would be interested in getting some information. So you made the contact in the open house. That's 1. Then you'll you put them on a search. That's 2. Then you put them in you send them a handwritten note card. Then you'll give them a follow-up call. Hey, are you getting, so you could actually have 4 of your contacts done in the first week. So an 8x8 means that 8 touches immediately from the first, like after the first touch. Because initially when Erin has decided to work with me, I'm going to call her once, set up a search, follow up with her again, send her a note card. So there could be 8 touches that are done in 2 weeks, but it's usually done in less than an 8-week period. So there's an initial period where it averages out that you're talking to them at least once a week for 8 weeks, and then you put them on the regular touch after that. So it helps solidify the relationship. And the touches are not always voice. It could just be, you send them 4 emails, could be 2 handwritten note cards, and you could have had 2 conversations with them. But they're getting something, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to hit the cortexes where now they're remembering Erin. All we're trying to, oh yeah, I got Erin. Okay, I got something from Erin. So now they're getting used to Erin. Understand that by us doing the touches, they're becoming acclimatized to you, right? That's why you guys marry people like your mothers and your fathers, because you're acclimatized to that kind of energy. And then you start becoming like your mother or your father yourself and say, oh my God, I was fighting with my mother my whole life and I'm becoming like my mother, because you're acclimatized to that energy, because your cortexes are, that's what's normal for you. Whether it's healthy or not healthy, that's what you're acclimatized to. So this is all we're doing in marketing when we do that to people. It's true. It's actually scary true. Right? Okay, keep going. Communicate, suggest items of value. So you talked about things that you could be calling them or talking to them about or sending to them. Here's some ideas. Actually, in the new, if you guys haven't had the playbook, I'm teaching tomorrow the playbook 2. I've taught the playbook 1 about 20 times already. Wow. The playbook 2 is now the update. And what I did was in the playbook 1, I put all these 20 tabs of the most important points. Guess what happened? The playbook 2 said, these are the most important things. I looked at mine. I'm like, oh my God, why do we need, there's so much, I love our company, but there's so much bloody duplication sometimes. So anyway, this half of this stuff would be if we just taught the playbook 2 or 1, all of this would be covered. And and they'll give you 3 pages of ideas of what you can be calling people about and talking to them about.
I wish they did a better job at that 12 touch, because
yeah. So what I would suggest to you, if you're on the education chair committee, I would replace this with the playbook 1 and 2 cover everything in 3612.3. Everything. You just have to have an instructor that said, okay, do the calls and do this kind of thing. But the playbook has way more information and way more practical stuff in it. Okay, and it's all updated.
Is it terrible if I say for ideas? GPT is a fantastic.
Oh,
thing
yeah.
There you go.
He's
Okay.
trying to
Well,
project.
that's chat. None of the stuff is even here. Like a lot of things have changed in 5 years.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
if you just
Okay.
go in there and say ideas for
Andre, what slide are you on right
For
now?
market.
Slide 26 out of 50.
And keep going.
Sure.
Yeah, these are just ways that we can customize it for each person's dispos, expiries. You can have a different plan for each person. Next one. 33, I told you, I said 34, I'm replacing this 19 to 34. That's what we're working towards, in the touch systems. Okay, keep going. Yes, I've already, see how it's changed, but it has changed now. So, that, all of this information, guys, it's not that this is bad, but all this information has been updated now, based on KW research. So keep going. Keep going. 12 direct. So we use this, but this is essentially would be used for geographic farming. Okay, so a 12 direct is where we call it 12 direct, where you're doing a series of direct mail pieces mailed at a target haven't met group. So when people do it's most likely in the case of geographic farming, but you could pick what we call as a geographic farm, or you could pick a people farm. So let's say, for example, I get a hold of the database of all the tennis players in the GTA that are registered with OTA. I could send them something. Hey, I'm a tennis player, blah, 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 information. Oh, by the way, I'm a realtor. You know what I'm saying? So I could send a direct mail piece to them. That's actually going to be expensive because I now have to address them and I have to mail each piece custom to them. Plus, they're not specific to a geography. So in other words, they want to buy a property in Niagara, or they want to buy a property in Bowmanville. I have to go. So people farm actually produce quicker than geographic farms. I mean that if you can find a group of people that are specific to an interest group that you connect with, you actually can convert them a lot quicker than, because you share that interest with them. The only thing is you're going to have to go wherever they go to make that money. Where in a geographic farm, you're specifically targeting Lauren Park, right? So you're targeting Lauren Park, you're going to get that area of Lauren Park, and so these are direct pieces to people you haven't met. And usually, again, between the 9th and 16th month, and it's normally around 14 months, you may get a call. This is why when we did we did Barry Cohen, actually Barb Best was there. We had Barb Best, we had Barry Cohen, and we had Sam McDaddy at a panel earlier this year in my office. The one direct mail piece that still gets some response is a just list, not an email or social just listed, or just an card just listed or just sold within the neighborhood that it just sold. Sam still says he gets calls every time he gets a just sold, and Barry says the same thing, and even Barb kind of does it sometimes, doesn't do it, sometimes, but that's the one piece that still gets, because if you were the agent that sold it or just listed it and you're in that neighborhood, you will sometimes get that occasional call. It may just be for a CMA or some more information, but it ends up as being a call. So Sam has been that's the one piece that he consistently has been doing over the last 20 years that actually does provide him with a return.
Just sold.
Just listed or just sold of the property within the neighborhood. Like if you're in Lauren Park.
It's farming though, obviously, right? Yes.
Well, no, you're getting Sam's stuff, and I live in an area where I get Sam's stuff all the time, right? And he's a good guy, by the way. But he's sending it out to he's sending out stuff in Hamilton in neighborhoods. I live in Port Credit, so he's sending it to me. However, when he just listed or sold a property around the corner of my neighborhood, I actually, even myself, I'm like, oh, okay, he just sold that. We stop for a minute when it's more specific.
If you were like a newer agent and might not be able to like dish out the marketing money, would you suggest door knocking?
Well, here's what I would suggest that you do. I would suggest that you go to other people in this office that have a listing or a sale and say, hey, Kiki, are you dropping a just listed or just sold around your listing or whatever? She's like, no. Can I do it and on your behalf? Can I do it? And just you do it.
Yeah, and just go door. Like, would you door knock the area? Kind of.
Well, it would be more effective if you door knocked it and stuff like that, right? Like, here's the thing. with marketing, if you're going to do a direct piece, this is habit nets. So it's better you just drop it.
Yeah.
However, I think a more effective way is, let's say Kiki just listed it. She can't do the first open house. I would go run,
Yes.
get permission. Hey, I'm going to put a feature sheet with my name on it. And then I hand deliver that to the 50 people around the area and say, hey, by the way, I'm running the open house this weekend. Here's a feature sheet with the property details. Do you know of anybody that would be interested in moving into that house or into the area? And you strike up a conversation with them. They're a lot more receptive if you're inviting them to that house that's there and you're the one who's going to be there. It's a greater chance of you picking up a lead. Yeah, I would do that. But if Kiki just did, if she just did 500 drops of just listed or just sold around the immediate house,
Still get a call.
you're still going to get an occasional call from people. Like just they eat out of the blue because people will do that. So this is where direct can work to habit nets, but you have to be consistent about it. Okay, keep going.
Sonny, I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Good
Leo,
to see you.
good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Keep going. A lot of them will just throw it in. Yeah, people don't use Microsoft Outlook anymore. Let's go. Contact management, we have Command now. You've got follow-up boss. You've got all of these things that people have. Yep, keep going. Contact management system. I don't have enough leads to bother with a contact management system. Well, you may not. Well, no. You have to start. You have to, even if you have 5 people, you got to start putting it into a system. Right? Keep going. Keep going. What about unresponsive contacts? I believe you try them 7 times, and after you tried them 7 times, throw them out after that. Okay. Now, don't try them 7 times all in one day. Maybe they're away for that week. But over a period of let's say a couple of months, give them a call, try to reach out to them, send them a note, whatever. If after 7 attempts you haven't been able to get a hold of somebody, I believe you should get rid of them. If you haven't had a conversation, especially if it, or you put them in the D and then you can get them at that point. Okay. Keep going. Communicate with them, opting out. Yes, you need to, if they don't want to. That's why I think that we had a lot of people go to 33 touch right away, which was 24 emails. And we had huge unsubscription rates. Because who wants to get 24 emails?
Is there anything around it going into junk? Like, what are we supposed to do with this matter?
That what?
When the email goes straight into their junk.
Well, if they haven't unsubscribed you, then just leave it. Here's the thing. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go into my junk and I'm like, oh, how come that's going into my junk? And then I put it into there.
Right.
Again, it's a numbers thing.
Right.
So if they haven't unsubscribed you and it's going into their junk, just let it keep on going into their junk at that point. Okay. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Funnel, we talked about that. Keep going. I think I covered this all.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah, these are all the different ones. There's way better ones in the playbook. Keep going. Keep going. Signing leads. Yeah, I would say that what we're doing is this is what we call as we're basically taking the leads themselves and we're tagging them. So we're putting tags into the leads to differentiate them into a proper group into your database. And by the way, on Facebook specifically, I know, and I think you can do that on Instagram, you can put tag into different groups and then send out specific content just to that group. So if you created a group in Facebook or Instagram, you can just say, okay, these would be these people. And then all you're doing is sending specific content to them, right? And I'm even saying, why are you guys posting? I mean, sometimes you guys are posting some of your stuff. It's going to other agents. I would have, you have agents. If you want to send out a new listing, put other agents in. Well, I would send content specific information. Let's say about, maybe you're doing something about a call to action about real estate. I wouldn't be sending that to other agents. I would be sending that specifically. So you can tag your social media groups and create a group, and then you just send it out to that specific group. Then the other thing is you can boost the post when you group people too, and that will send it out to other individuals. Okay? Keep going. Geographic farming, go on, keep going. Hey, we're getting good here. What number are we at, Andre?
46 out of 50 slides.
Oh, wow. Sourcing leads. Yeah, I just talked about just sold cars. IVR, they used to do this a lot. Some people still do it, and that's interactive voice response. So essentially, they have a phone line set up. And then what they do is that now people they do registrations online as much. They drive it to a website or a landing page. But I know that there are still some individuals, very rarely, that still keep a phone number or phone line. And what people can do is that they drop a piece, or they have a specific piece and they say, call this number. And the number actually had a recorded response. You can either leave a message, or you can actually press a number, and then that number would go directly to the agent themselves. So again, there are people, old school ones, that still keep it there, because people say, yeah, I sent the flyer in the area, they called that number, and then they pressed one and they got them on the phone.
Mm.
So they're basically using just rather than them going to a website, because a lot of the drop mail right now said, when you see like free home evaluation and tips about how to make your home worth more, registered at beachesrealestate.com. It's usually more specific to a neighborhood. So somebody gets the URL specific to a neighborhood, they send out specific information about that, and they say register for a free evaluation at this, and then you get the registration online. That's where most of it comes. However, there are people that still have people leaving voicemail messages. Hey, this is Sunny, I got your piece. Can we do that consultation? Or they press 1 and it forwards it directly to the agent's
Yes,
cell
our
phone.
little seniors, they're a little lost in the world.
Yeah, that happened. Next one. Tracking leads, obviously track them. Seven times.
7 times.
Just remember 7. You got to do 7. You got to track. Like by the time you've made 7 reaches out to especially new leads coming in, you'll know right away. You put them on a plan, then you're going to put them on a call program. But you should obviously create a pipeline. One thing I will say about Command or any of the CRMs that are there, a lot of them have that opportunities, or they have that pipeline built into it, so you can just sort of drag it over. That's the one thing I like about what they've done with Command specifically. Next one. Final thoughts. Oh, my final thoughts are: this is a full contact business. The one who your database is your repository, and your touches are the most important thing. If you could just focus on your database and your touches, that will drive appointments, and then that will drive conversion.
So if there was one thing that you would say for us to focus on, because the market has shifted in a pace that we're not used to working, it would be touching them more frequently.
Talking to them more.
Yes, that's what Bold said last year, folks.
Yeah.
Is
But
that
the number one thing you could do right now
Yeah.
is, and the thing is, the markets are changing weekly, rates are changing weekly, inventory is changing. And again, don't be afraid to ask people what they ask, rather than you talk to them about them. Call them up and say, hey, Kiki, you know what? What do you think's going on in the market right now? Ask them what they think, right? One of the things that I've learned the most in appointments that I've done, and when you go on to Broker Bay, you can pull up the statistics. You guys pull up the statistics in Broker Bay? No? Okay, this is a golden nugget here. We all get Broker Bay, and Broker Bay has all the statistics you can have in the city, or you can go down a specific area. So let's say you're going into an appointment, or they have a property in an area. Pull up the area and you can do the last 30, 60, 90 days of last year. It'll show you the average prices, the number of showings, it shows all of those statistics feed into that property and broker base. So you're going in for a listing appointment now, pick up the specific area. It'll show you that, oh, well, showings are up or showings are down. Prices are up, prices are down. This is up, this is down. So all you do in your appointments with people, you bring up, or if it's a buyer looking to buy in a specific area, you pull up that area. You can do, again, as big as the city. You could do Toronto, but that's a lot of Toronto. You may say Etobicoke, or you may say this. Pull it up in Broker Bay. They're going to have this really cool graph with all these lines. It'll show you the history. And you sit down with your client and you basically say, these are the statistics. Take a look at them. What do you think? And say nothing. They're going to see showings are down, prices are down. They have to sell this property. What do you think we should do? It basically, the broker-based stats tell you, don't you tell them, ask them what they think. They're smart. Someone will say, oh my, this is a really good time to buy right now, eh? Look at the inventory. Look at where pricing is going in this specific segment. Yeah, well, maybe we should think about buying right now and take advantage of it. Because rates are going to come down a half point, probably in the next couple of weeks. We know they're going to be a full point down from next year. You're going to see, I'm guaranteeing you're going to see 2.95 for a 5-year rate at some point as late as fall of next year. We're already at 3.99 for a 5-year rate from some of the banks. You're going to see 2.95. As soon as you start seeing 2.95 and 3.25 money again, we won't see 1%. We probably won't see low twos.
Okay.
But you see 2.95 and you see 3.25, that's going to have a massive effect. What people don't realize, it's a bit of a buyer's market right now, but we do still have a 15-year housing shortage.
That's right. Yes, I have sellers who don't have to sell. That's the message, right?
Right.
So,
Right. But the one thing you got to understand is don't underestimate the power of them. The consumers are very smart these days. Show them the statistics. Broker Bay lays it out really nice. And just say, here's what's going on in the area, in your neighborhood. Here's what's going on in the area you want to buy. What do you think? They will tell you what they think. Then that's a much more meaningful conversation. Because now what we're doing is that you're dealing now with the factual side of their brain, and they're moving away from being so emotional. Like they're so emotional that they can't get this price anymore about their home. So when you show them stats, they're saying, oh shit, prices are going down. So they're now making a more, I would say, data-based decision than it being, oh, I need to get this amount. I would love to be able to get you that amount of money. I would love to be able to get you a whole bunch of, look at the trend that's happening in your neighborhood. It tells, like that's, you guys, if you haven't learned that, just pick up the data stuff in Broker Bay. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate you guys hanging on with me. If anybody can, I'm not coming back soon, but you're always welcome to come to my Mississauga offices for any of the classes. I teach every single week there.
Do you really?
Yeah, every single week I'm teaching all day tomorrow. I'm teaching the playbook tomorrow for 4 hours. So every week I teach there one session. If not every week, every second week I'm teaching one session. Any of you guys can just drop into our office. Just call the front or the reception. We have enough room for everybody.
that's amazing. I can
Okay.
bring a group of us out. at some
Sure.
point.
No problem. Just let our staff know so that we will have the tables and chairs set up. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sunny. I appreciate
Well, are the
it.
classes online?
Oh, yeah. So what we do is that some of the classes we do, we have Zoom in, so they can
Okay.
Zoom in our
Still
facilities.
waiting.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Zoom in would be good.
Yeah.
Zoom. Yeah, that traffic is.
Bananas.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I really, really.
So, which office in Mississauga? Sorry, what is the name of the brokerage?
The main office is at 401 and Mississauga Road. That's our
And
main, we have,
the brokerage name?
Keller Williams Real Estate Associates.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, kwrea.ca is our website.
So cool. Sarah.
I know. It's
Oh,
cold.
it's
and I have to go.
So nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Things are going good.
Things are good.
I know, I just came back from Ottawa last week. I'm there because it's teaching the classes.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave here.
Like,
Thank you so much.
yeah, see you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was
Good
good.
man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. It's totally, I don't, you know what? I go back because you're only, yeah.
I said, you get some.